Hey guys, Bruce here. So today I'm going to be talking about aquascaping, which is one of my favorite subjects, and we're going to be talking about aquascaping with acrylic rod. Here's an example of the acrylic rod right here. It's completely reef safe. It'll grow coral and algae really well. If you have an acrylic tank, you probably have noticed that. It's very easy to work with. It's very strong. This is a piece of 3/4, so this is pretty tough. So the reason why we're using acrylic rod is, let's say for example, we want to build something a little out of the ordinary. We want something solid that isn't going to get knocked over by any of our invertebrates, fish, or anything like that. So let's say maybe I want to take this piece and I want to put it on this nice sturdy base here. There's no way that's going to stay on its own. I've seen people do a number of different techniques, but to me, my favorite is using the acrylic rod. So that's what we're going to be going over. You probably noticed right here, we've got this area taped off. The reason why I've done that is for ease of working on this stuff. We don't want to necessarily be working in a tank where it's glass, and we could accidentally drop the rock and have it break the tank. So I've made an outline here. We could do this. You could use cardboard if you wanted to protect the floor that you're working on. In this case, it's just a cement garage floor. So this gives me an idea of my workspace, so I can work freely without risk of damaging the aquarium. A few basic tools is all you're going to need. Well, maybe not quite basic, but we've got a drill here. This one happens to have a hammer on it, a hammer drill, but you don't necessarily really need a hammer drill. In fact, you're going to want to be, one thing I want to point out is where you're drilling this rock, you want to be very careful. Some of the rock will break very easily, so you want to take your time, go nice and slow with the drilling, because we don't want to be damaging rock, especially some of the nicer pieces that you might have acquired over time. I'm using dry rock. I start most of my aquariums with dry rock. That way I don't have to worry about any kind of pests, aptasia, flatworms, things like that. This rock, I'll cure it when I cycle the tank, and it'll be completely pest free. This is optional. I'm going to show you how to use the heat gun to bend the rod if you want to get even a little bit more creative with it. Pair of PVC cutters actually works to cut the rod for the most part. If you want to get a little crazy, you can use a Sawzall, but I don't think I'll be using that today. And some masonry drill bits that match the size of the rod you're going to use. Now you can get the rod in pretty much any size. I've done a lot with 1/2 inch, 3/8, different sizes of rod for whatever you're working with, whether it's a smaller or larger piece. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so before we get started, I did want to show you the technique with the heat gun. You're going to want to go over with nice even movements with the heat gun and slowly get the rod nice and soft so that it's pliable so you can bend it. You don't want to overdo it. So Alright, so you can see, basically I'm doing this just so you can get the general idea. You want to kind of hold it at whatever angle as it cools down. Let's shut that off so you can actually hear what I'm saying. So you want to just kind of hold that at the angle you want it at until it dries, or cools down rather. Should just take really a minute or two at the most. You can see I kind of went over that nice and slow. I got a couple little bubbles here, but this is a pretty thick piece of acrylic. And then when that cools down and hardens up, it'll be a nice solid bend that we can use later in our aquascape if we decide to. So now at this point, let's get started.
All right, you can get back to your game if you want. You can get back to your game if you want.
You know, we've got a couple, two independent structures here that look fairly unique. There's plenty of room for coral if we decided to do a reef in there. There's plenty of room for circulation, so we're not going to have any stagnant pockets, any place for detritus to hang out. You know, another thing I wanted to mention too is, you know, hopefully you guys can bear with me. Aquariums are more my specialty. Videos are not, so I'm going to try to get better at the videos as time goes on. But, you know, in the meantime, like I said, hopefully you can bear with me. If you have any constructive criticism, any comments, any questions, anything that you think would be a great video to do, anything you'd like to see, please let me know. Also like to ask if you could follow me on YouTube. I'm on there as Bruce Ewald. On Facebook, Bruce Ewald, that's BRUCEEWALD. And on Instagram as Vital Reef, that's Vital_Reef. I plan on doing quite a few more videos just to share some of the knowledge that I've gained over the years. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.
Alright, so here is another example of using the acrylic rod. And this right here, we bent the rod at this point, comes down, there's actually 2 holes drilled in that rock right there, and then it comes up.